Chapter 22 to 28. So yeah, I'm just sitting in my newly built house. I was just rolling around when I suddenly arrive at a thought. I'm a bit weak, aren't I? Like, think about it. I have all these skills and that makes me a bit versatile, even if the majority of these skills are useless, but my runes can make for some pseudo skills too. I just have to think up an effect, use the Rune Master skill and write the received runes down. But even so, against true powerhouses, I can't really measure up to them. Not as I am now. So. Rimuru, Ranga. Ranga, you called, Master. Ranga answers me from my shadow. He's recently learned how to stay in shadows instead of simply moving through them, and now he spends his day lazing around with me. Well, I also slowly seep parts of my magicules into my shadow, so Ranga is slowly getting stronger as well. Rimuru, I want to go somewhere. Can you take me? Ranga, of course, Master. So I leave my house and Ranga appears from my shadow. I hop on his back and he runs around to find Rigard to tell him that I'll be heading out for a bit. Rigard, I wish you well, Rimuru-sama. Is what he said. There's a lot of work to be done, but I don't want to do any of that. So I had Rigard handle it all. Procrastination. So Ranga and I leave the village, and after running for a while, we come across a large opening. There's a river flowing through with large sand-colored pebble banks on the side I'm on. This is some good scenery. It seems this is a good place to mess around. Right, what do I do now? I mean, I've watched anime before and know I should do some training arc shit. Like, if I still had a human body, I would probably do the Saitama workout because that's just a free pass to unlimited power. But I'm not a human, so working out physically won't do shit. I'm a slime, I look like a meat bun, therefore I'm already as powerful as I can get. Working on my magicule reserves won't do anything because glances at my heavens feel skill. Moving on. Right, I guess I could get even more skills, but I don't want to do that because that won't solve my problem. It doesn't matter how many skills I get, against absolute power, you need some absolute power of your own. Once I get Shizu's deviant, I can start mixing a wider range of skills together and maybe even get more unique skills out of it, but I don't have that. And I'll even have to kill Shizu to get it. HNNG. What do I do with her? Screw you, past me. Why did you have to let I, the future me, handle this? You know what? Screw it. I'll let the future me handle this. Procrastination. So I guess the solution is to hone what I already have. And how do I do that? Sigh, this would be a really good time to have some random wizened old man to appear and teach me in the ways of bullshit no jutsu or something. While I was wondering on what exactly I should do, I notice Ranga sleeping beside me. Look at him, with his white fur. He's so fluffy. Wait, Ranga used some sort of ground shrinking technique, did he not? Great Sage also told me I could do that too. Should I take this chance to work on my space attribute? I mean, my crest of space is just kinda sitting there. Let's do that then. And so, I got to work. Having Great Sage is honestly a godsend in these kinds of things. Her calculations are helping me immensely. It already analyzed Ranga and how he moved, and now all I had to do was replicate it. Individual Ranga coated his paws and legs with his space attribute magicules and used that to remove the space in front of them. This allowed his paws to travel further than normal, which brought the rest of his body along with it with no side effects. I see. Yup, it's as expected. I don't understand shit. But I got a general idea. I think. Only one way to find out. And so, I coat myself in magicules, and I roll. Great Sage. Confirmed. You have moved further than normal. Yes. So simply coating myself with my space-attributed magicules is enough. But, isn't that really simple? Report. Your crest of space is providing an error correction effect to anything space-related, letting you learn at an accelerated pace. Damn, so I'm some kind of space genius. Perhaps Ranga and the other wolves also have this accelerated learning effect for space-relating things too. It'll be weaker though since I have the original. But still, coating things in space-attributed magicules. It's simple elementary stuff, obviously, but I wonder how far you can push this simple technique. And so, I spent the rest of the day experimenting on coding random things like that. At the end of the day, I woke Ranga up and showed him my results. Rimuru, watch closely, okay? Ranga, yes master. His tail is wagging as he answers. It's just his natural state, so there's no local gale, thank goodness. I take the stick I was messing around with for half the day and coat it in my magicules. After that, I bounce up to a convenient large rock formation and slash it with my stick. Anime sword cutting sound effect. The rock was cut in half diagonally, causing the top half to slide off. Man, that would have been so cool if I had my human form. Ranga, amazing, master. As expected of you. His eyes, once again, have stars in them. His admiration for me is honestly a little addicting. Especially since he's a big doggo. I better keep secret the fact that I barely held the magicules together. I need more practice. Or maybe it's just because using a branch as a magicule conductor is a bad idea. What if I use magisteel? Food for thought. And like that, both Ranga and I head home. As an aside, the next day, Ranga learned how to coat his claws and teeth with space-attributed magicules to make them way sharper than normal. Furthermore, Great Sage is telling me the magicules are stable. Who's the talented one here? 3 weeks later. I'm sitting at the bottom of the sealed cave in front of the giant crack in space. I've been here for several hours by now. What am I doing? I'm watching hentai. Cough. I'm waiting for Makoto to come back. She should be coming soon. It's almost a complete month since she left, and today will be the last day the hole will stay open before it closes for good. I can even see early signs of that happening. The normally unmoving hole is fluctuating a bit. I was a bit nervous about it, but... Notice. The fluctuation will not have any effect on the summoning process. Is what? Great Sage said, so I'm not anxious something will go wrong. Suddenly, I receive a signal from the hole. She's ready. And so, I begin the summoning process for the second and final time. I'm not worried I'll summon someone else other than Makoto. She has already been marked during her first passage through. Furthermore, it's through this mark that she was able to let me know she's ready to pass through. I'm tempted to say some sort of cringy Chuyuni summoning chant, but I decide against it. I just sit there, or am I standing? I don't know, I'm a fucking slime. Anyway, I just sit there and watch the magic happen. The crack in the sky pulses before hundreds of small motes of light pour out from within. I'm a little confused by, Great Sage hasn't said anything, so I keep watching. Maybe it's because her physical body is passing through this time, not just her astral body. After all, from my memory, those who are summoned will have their body remade during the process to contain magicules. The motes of light start swirling around in a vortex and concentrating on the floor. And that's when something surprising happens. A body begins to form. First, the feet appeared. From there, rising up, legs formed. Her hands started to form as well, forming upwards into her arms as her torso also begins to form as they meet up at the shoulders. And finally, the head. Her body is still slightly glowing from what just happened. She looks so beautiful like that. And with her eyes still closed, she looks like she's sleeping. You don't sleep standing up though, but ignore that. Her eyelids quiver as they slowly open. The first thing she sees is me, still stunned on the floor. She quickly looks at her body to find that she's still in her clothes, her Tokugawa uniform, and she breathes a sigh of relief. I, however, breathe a sigh of reluctance. I didn't get to peek at any of her goods. I sound like an old fart, holy shit. She smiles at me and I just wave at her. We don't say anything. We just stay there. But, after looking at her for a while, I feel like I have to say this. Rimuru, it's okay to cry, you know. And that finally did it. Makoto shook her head at first, intending to say she was okay, but her words got stuck in her throat. Her eyes redden a bit and begin to water before tears leak out. And so, she fell to her knees and cried. I slide up to her, intending to say some words of comfort, but she instead grabs me and brings me into her modest chest, before crying into my body. I'm a bit stunned, honestly, but I don't do anything, and I just pat her back with my slime tentacle thingy. No lewd though. It's a shame though, she's not doing this because she loves me all of a sudden, that's just unrealistic. I just happen to be a bouncy squishy object that would feel nice to hold. And that's what she needs right now, some comfort. And just like that, while Makoto was still crying, we both watched as the only way to her world, the large crack in the sky, closed for a very, very long time. Makoto cried for a while. I don't blame her, she's only 14, but she has to leave everything she knew behind. I'm honestly proud, in a way, that she kept her word and isn't showing any reluctance. Sure, she's sad, anyone would be. But she's not hanging on to her world. She must have done everything she could to have no regrets during the month I gave her. As the hole was closing, she made no movements to try and stop it or perhaps re-enter it. After a while, she fell asleep. She's still clinging on to me, mind you. I'm currently soaked in tears. It just didn't feel right to absorb it and keep it in a corner of my stomach. I wouldn't know what I would do later if I did. Imagine scene of drinking tears Giorno style. Yeah no, I just feel like an ass. Damn, are these early stalker signals? I need to tone it down. So yeah, I carry her back into my house/hut while trying to make excuses on who this girl is to all the goblins and wolves I meet on the way. I mean, they wouldn't know what to think when I'm just dragging her on the floor. Wait. No. That came out wrong. I meant to say I made a mattress and placed Mikoto on it before dragging it with my sticky thread. I did not drag her here by her ankle. But anyway, I had to tell everyone including Gobta that I'll explain things later, most likely tomorrow. He was still a bit skeptical, but I threw a meat bun into the distance and he immediately chased after it. Problem solved. I made a bed with limited creation, and laid Mikoto onto it before covering her with a blanket and walking out of the bedroom. I also made sure to make both the bed and blanket comfortable as fuck. It's the most badass fucking bed on the fucking planet. Seriously, this motherfucker kicks the shit out of the pussy futon or sheets. This comfortable, neat motherfucker is the best fucking thing that I have ever created. Sleep in this bed and your dick will grow 3 inches. Fuck. A/N, apple. For those who get this reference, I respect you. Next day. Mikoto wakes up. At first, she's confused at what's happening, looking around, wondering where she is. I feel her movements with my universal perception skills, so I quickly dropped what I was doing and walked/rolled into her room. Rimuru, hey. How are you feeling? Mikoto, I'm fine. Better than before, where are we? I smile inwardly when she admitted to feeling better. Rimuru, we're in a little house my subordinates made for me. I still feel a bit awkward calling them my subordinates. Oh well, more problems for future me. Mikoto, subordinates? Rimuru, oh, I didn't tell you. I'm kind of the leader of the local area we're currently in. I might not look like it, but I'm pretty strong, you know. My body inflates as I try to look like I'm puffing out my chest, but I'm sure I just look silly. Oh well, Mikoto seems amused at least. But then her eyes narrow a bit. I know that look. Rimuru, oi. I know what you're thinking. Mikoto, no, I mean, you're a slime, right? No offense, but it's surprising. Saishi thought I was weak. Well, it's not like this matters. She'll accept it naturally over time, it's not like this is something extremely important. Growl. What was that? It's a bit familiar, but... Mikoto suddenly blushes in embarrassment. Ah, is she? Rimuru. Are you hungry? Mikoto hesitantly nods. Ah, I haven't needed food in a long time. I forgot normal people need to eat. She hasn't eaten since yesterday after all. Rimuru, I'll get you something to eat. Mikoto, no, I mean. I'm not sure if your taste and my taste are any different, so. Rimuru, ha ha ha. We don't eat raw meat. Don't worry, I have just the food for you. Limited creation. Rimuru, here. Have a meat bun. So Mikoto and I talked to each other for a bit, Mikoto still sitting in her bed, cross-legged and facing me, while I'm sitting on a chair beside her bed facing her. Rimuru, so what happened anyway? Mikoto, with what? Rimuru, you know, what happened after you left and went back to your world. Mikoto, that huh. Well, it was honestly a roller coaster ride. I guess I should start when I just got back. And so she talked about her experience. First thing after she got back, she immediately left looking for a clone of hers. Note that she did that while evading the persistent pursuit of a certain stalker roommate, Shirai Kuroko. She did that for 2 reasons. 1, because the sisters is highly secretive stuff, and 2, it's so she doesn't have to deal with Kuroko's antics in general. She didn't mention number 2, but I felt it. Well, although Shirai Kuroko wants to get all touchy-feely with Mikoto, she's honestly a very good friend and I myself don't hate her. Plus, she's a girl. Yuri is good for the soul. Spark. Oops, moving on. She was wandering around before she picked up a signal very similar to her own through her Electromaster ability. She finally met one of her sisters and tried to talk to her about the project. However, as expected, Mikoto didn't have the clearance to know about the information on the level 6 shift project. And since Mikoto only knew the general information from what I gave her, she decided to look for info on it with her own hands. And so, they separated. When she got the info, she was absolutely devastated, but she also came across a piece of information that an experiment was ongoing right at this moment. So she quickly left for the experiment site. She arrived just in time to prevent Accelerator from killing the sister clone involved in this specific experiment. And it turns out, by coincidence, this very sister was the same one she met earlier that day. To be honest, even I'm a little surprised hearing that. Talk about coincidences. And so, both Mikoto and Accelerator fought, and as expected, Accelerator wiped the floor with her. Rimuru, didn't I tell you not to fight Accelerator head-on? Bruh. Yes, I even let out a bruh. That's how exasperated I am. Honestly, what would happen if she died? I don't want to think about it. Mikoto, hey. I wanted to see exactly how strong this guy was. Besides, he's the one that started the fight, and I couldn't exactly back out at that point. Sai moving on. She finally decided that she wasn't going to win, no shit, and so she decided to use her final trump card. The power of Nakama. No, seriously, I named her bracelet Nakama. Anyway, Accelerator got hit by the lightning spell and fucking died. Well, not really, but he did get knocked out in one hit. The lightning spell looked exactly like any casual lightning strike Mikoto would throw around, so he wasn't prepared for it at all. Furthermore, any scientist looking in on the fight with their cameras wouldn't notice the difference as well, so. Mission accomplished. Mikoto defeated Accelerator with her strength. Not really, but that's the conclusion. I wonder what Alistair thinks about this. A week later, she found out that the level 6 shift project is indefinitely halted and the sisters will be living their lives like normal thanks to the magical meat buns. As an aside, they still kept the meat buns and ate it occasionally because it's perpetually warm and it's an infinite source of delicious food, so they each kept one in their pocket and ate it whenever it clones itself. Did I just solve world hunger? For the rest of the time she was there, she spent her time like she was going to die soon. Her friends asked her what's wrong because she's acting way different than usual. Shirai especially was pretty paranoid about it, wondering if Mikoto is sick and needs help. Not wanting to keep it a secret from her friends, and since it's already over, she told them about the sisters and what she went through, not the summoning part. They chided her about going at it alone, but she mentioned to them that she had some help. Rimuru, hey, that's me. Mikoto completely ignored me and continued her story. Sad face. After a month, it was finally time for her to leave. She never told anyone about her leaving because I told her that by the time I can travel to her world I should be able to choose the moment in time I would return, and it would seem like she never left. And so, I summoned her at the end of the deadline and she disappeared. During the summoning, she was in some sort of lucid dreamlike state. It was at this time where she heard a voice. Or rather than a voice, it was more like a machine. Mikoto, it reminded me of the AIs from Academy City. Rimuru, Could it be the voice of the world? Mikoto, voice of the world. Rimuru, I don't know much about it, but it's a voice you hear whenever you gain a new skill or whenever you evolve. Well, you're a human though, so you don't need to worry about evolution for now. But that means you must have gained some skills. Well, of course you did, technically you're a summoned being, so you should have gained some extra skills from the journey. Do you remember them? Mikoto, it said something about getting a couple of unique skills. Harmony, and limit break. It also mentioned some resistances, but I forgot them. I can assume what those skills should do. Espers always have an upper limit on their growth. You can call it their talent levels. An Esper can't grow above their limit, which is why, no matter how long you wait, Mikoto will never defeat Accelerator. But with this, limit break, unique skill, she should be able to grow stronger. That's good because although she's strong, she won't be able to defeat some of the powerhouses in this world. As for harmony. Any ideas, Great Sage? Notice. I am unable to confirm the usage of the unique skill, harmony, without any prior assessment. Rimuru, Misaka-san, do you mind invoking your harmony skill? Mikoto, I'm not sure how to, but I'll try. And so, she closes her eyes and invokes her skill. Great Sage. Understood. Scanning individual Makoto Misaka. Confirmed, unique skill, Harmony, allows the usage of opposing elements without any backlash or rejection. Oh. Oh. Holy shit. Well, after talking with each other a bit more, Makoto decided to finally get out of bed. Now that I think about it, it's a bit late, already around 9 AM according to Great Sage. Holy shit, I'm already considering 9 AM late. What is going on? Does this mean I'm living a productive life now? No. But alas, there is no one I can vent my woes to without looking fucking stupid. Top 10 saddest anime moments. Anyway, the day continued, and I just wandered around the village overseeing everything going on and trying to look like I'm actually doing something. Why? Well, that's because a certain Electromaster is constantly following me around. Rimuru, Misaka-san. Why are you following me? Makoto, Well, I don't exactly have anything else to do now, so. Rimuru, fair point. We continued walking around the village with Makoto offering random pointers here and there from her modern-day perspective while I myself constantly attempt to keep up with her by spouting my own wisdom. Sigh, this is tiring. I ended up resorting to talking to her. I think it's pretty obvious that I used to be human by now, so I decided to tell her about my past life. Not everything though. I simply told her I used to be a human and that I used to be from Earth as well, just not the same one. Rimuru, you know the multiverse theory, right? It's like that. Makoto, She seems pretty interested, so I tell her more about my world. Rimuru, we don't have espers or magicians or anything like that. On the other hand, my world's culture is very advanced. We have all kinds of manga, anime, hent-dash. Spark. Rimuru ***** well, you get the idea. I also told her about my life as an otaku neat. I didn't tell her everything about me though. I didn't tell her that my world has this world and her world written as the very same anime and manga I just talked about. I also didn't tell her about my meeting with Arobi, nor about my ultimate skill. I want to tell her eventually, but I'm not an idiot. I don't know if, just like this world, this Makoto is from an AU Toru world as well. I wouldn't know if she's actually a black-hearted woman. So, I keep my trump cards a secret. She saw me use limited creation for the meat bun and also saw the runes on her bracelet, so she's aware of Rune Master and limited creation. Should I have been more prudent in hiding it from her? Nah. I'll be using them often, so. She also decided to tell me how her life went. It's the life of a normal schoolgirl for the majority of it, disregarding the extreme amount of experiments she went through. It wasn't anything too harmful, though, just some tests, you could say. It was only in recent years when she started fighting more and getting more combat experience under her belt. While she was talking, she started getting this distant look in her eyes. Probably reminiscing about her world. Rimuru, you know what? How about we take a dip in the hot spring? Makoto, you have a hot spring? Makoto shows a surprised expression. Yes, you heard it right, a hot spring. I remembered there was a hot spring somewhere in the area in Canon, so I sent some goblins to search for likely spots before heading there myself and confirming if there's a source there. On the third try, we hit the jackpot. The hot spring itself isn't anything fancy right now, but it's something. Makoto immediately agrees and I followed along. We had a small changing room off to the side. The hot spring itself isn't separated by gender yet, so the males and females have their own separate time. Everyone is still working right now, so it's empty, however. Makoto, Rimuru. What are you doing? Rimuru, Obviously, I'm preparing to enter the dash. Makoto, didn't you say that the hot spring isn't separated by gender yet? Menacing characters appear out of nowhere behind Makoto as her hair casts a shadow over her eyes as she smiles at me with closed eyes. Rimuru, WWL, you see, I'm genderless, so dash. Makoto, Rimuru. Spark. Gulp. Rimuru, why yes. Makoto, get out. And so, I find myself sitting in the corner drawing circles with my slime tentacle hand thingy. I shouldn't have told her I was a male in my last life. I look behind to see Makoto entering the changing room with a slight smile on her face. I smile as well. It's good to see that she's back to normal. A while later, Makoto and I decide it's finally time to experiment on her new unique skills. Harmony, and Limit Break. We messed around with them a lot over the next few days. Limit Break, as expected, allowed her to go above her natural limits. Surprisingly, this isn't limited to just her Esper ability, this also includes her physical ability. When I learned of that, I was scared as fuck. I mean, what if she goes bald? But then I learned that it doesn't change her physical appearance no matter what. Mikoto was angry and a bit disappointed when she learned of that. She was also staring at her chest while that happened, so I'm not sure what she's disappointed about. And although it isn't confirmed, Great Sage also mentioned that this skill doesn't completely remove her natural limits, it just breaks past them and increases said limit to unknown heights. Now, Harmony, on the other hand. It's a surprising one. Basically, it's like Shizu's Deviant, in that it can fuse things, except different. For Deviant, it's permanent. For Harmony, however, it's only temporary. However, it can fuse completely opposite things, like fire and water. The most prominent thing it can do is it can let Mikoto use both her Esper ability and Magicules. Not only that, the things she harmonized boost the quality of each other. This means that Mikoto can use Magicules to increase the firepower and control of her Electromaster ability. Right now, both Mikoto and I are standing in front of a very large rock formation, except, you know, it's fucking obliterated. And it's still smoking. This is a 20-meter high piece of solid rock. Its top half is shattered and there's a hole right through the center from the top right to the ground under it. Rimuru. That lightning strike, it's a bit too powerful, isn't it? Mikoto. We're still absent-mindedly staring at the smoking rock formation as Rigard runs up to me from behind us. We weren't that far away from the village, and I had runes absorb the sound of the lightning strike Mikoto made, so no one was alerted. Rigard, however, seems a bit flustered. Did the runes fail or something? Rigard, Rimuru-sama. We have received a report from Rigard and the security team. It seems they've discovered suspicious individuals in the forest. Rimuru, monsters. Rigard, no, it seems they're humans. Oh. And so, Rigard led me to wherever those humans are currently at. Mikoto, getting curious, follows us. I mean, these are humans from an entirely different world, of course she would be curious. I mean, I am too. This is the first time I'm meeting humans from this world. I guess this is what the original Rimuru felt too, maybe a bit more hopeful of the fact that they aren't absolute jerks like those from the Dwarven Gate. Speaking of which, I wonder where those magical girl cosplayers went off to. Who. Hey. I wanted that. That's just mean, isn't it? Sir, I regret to inform you that I am not giving up this food. Munch 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 munch. The sounds of arguments and eating enter my, figurative, ears even though we still have a way to go. How loud are they? Rimuru, they're certainly, lively, aren't they? Mikoto nods in agreement, growing ever more curious. Rigard, I apologize. They said they were starving, so we provided them with some food. Rimuru, oh, I'm not scolding you. Good job, if they're not bad people, treat them well. I gotta instill in these guys to treat humans like they want to be treated. If they get attacked nonetheless, then no matter, but otherwise. Rimuru, keep it up. Praise them and tell them they did a good job. Rigard, yes sir. I will strive to do exactly as you say. Rimuru, umu. As I finish my talk with Rigard, we finally arrive at a certain tent. Well, although I say, tent, if not for the fact that it's made of cloth, it's got quite a lot of space inside. One of the goblins guarding the entrance lifts the flaps for me as I enter. Jeff, my name Jeff. Oh. It's Jeff. I slide on through as Mikoto enters after me, looking around. My senses lay on 4 humans sitting around a metal plate with a large pile of meat buns on top. It seems I don't really need to panic as they're the exact same people I met at the gate. The 3 Stooges themselves. Honestly, I'm a bit of a fan. Of course, not to forget the person I'm most looking forward to meeting, while also dreading meeting the most, Shizue Izawa, or just Shizu. Why am I dreading to meet her? Well, she gonna fucking die. And I don't want that, really, but... Screw you past me. Rigard introduces me, with the whole, this is our leader Rimuru-sama, and stuff. He also introduces Mikoto as well, adding a sama honorific to her as well. Mikoto seems surprised, but if I had to guess, she's simply surprised someone like Rigard also considers her as above him, rather than being surprised by getting called with the sama honorific itself. I mean, she's considered a princess at her school, so being called sama should be something she's used to. I'm a bit jealous of that immunity, to be honest, I still get uncomfortable being called Sama, even though I'm not Japanese. Oh, and yes, Mikoto understood him. She quickly learned the magic sense, extra skill over the last couple of days, so now she can easily communicate with everyone. The trio adventurers swallowed their mouthful of meat buns. Cable/Elan/Jido, Master. Alright, Rimuru. You've got one shot at this. Don't fuck it up. Rimuru, nice to meet you. I'm Rimuru the Slime. I'm not a bad slee *** bites tongue *** ah, fuck. Mikoto just smiles at me with a playful look. She's finding enjoyment in my suffering, isn't she? Well, at least she seems to have gotten used to my occasional curses. Shizu, pooh. Shizu laughed a bit. But she had a mouthful of food under that mask, and judging by that sound, the resulting mess shouldn't be pretty. I'm sorry. Speaking of which, how did she even get that food into her mouth? She was wearing a mask the whole time, but as soon as she brought the meat buns up to her mouth, it just disappeared. Damn, OG Rimuru's destined one sure had some skills. No, wait, how did I bite my tongue? I don't even have one of those yet. What the foo? Anyway, the trio of adventurers takes this chance to speak up. Cable, we appreciate the help. We never expected to get saved by monsters. Elan, the food is also very delicious. Thank you very much. Jido, thanks for your help. We didn't know a goblin village was here. The trio of adventurers takes this chance to introduce themselves. Cable, Elan and Jido, exactly like I remember. I'm so glad only a few things went out of whack in this AU, it makes things so convenient. Kavol, and this is a temporary member who was going the same way as us. Shizu. Shizu. She's a bit quiet, isn't she? Anyway, nothing really exciting happened after that. I asked them why they were here and they confessed that they were here on orders to investigate the area, specifically the effects of Veldora's disappearance. Kavol, but when we looked into the cave, we didn't find anything. Well, there was this weird thing down there. It was white and small. Hold on, isn't it the same thing as what we're eating now? My meat bun. I wonder if it's still there. During the talk, Mikoto also grew a bit hungry and sat down next to Shizu and also ate some meat buns. It's technically food for them, but everyone just treated it like it was normal. There's plenty to go around. Mikoto, shouldn't they keep that information a secret? Mikoto mutters to herself, but I hear it. I shake my head/body. My dear Mikoto, you shouldn't expect so much from them. Elan, I feel like someone just dissed us. By the time they finished, all the meat buns are gone. During the whole ordeal, Shizu hasn't said anything, she just calmly ate her food, and when she had her fill, she just sat there listening to our conversation, and that was that. Rimuru, right. I guess you guys can stay here in this village for now. Get some good rest. Cable/Elan/Jido, thank you very much. They thanked me and I left them alone. I wanted, or rather, I needed to talk to Shizu though. Rimuru, Misaka-san, sorry, but I need to go solo for a bit. Mikoto, oh it's fine. I can just guide the others around. I nod my thanks, and I bounce off. I find Shizu standing on a grassy hill next to a tree staring at the sunset. I bounce up to her, wanting to talk to her, but she quickly notices me, and without turning around, she asks me a question. Shizu, Mr. Slime, that line you were trying to say, it was from a game, wasn't it? I'm not a bad slime. As expected, she noticed me. It could have been magic sense, but I'm putting my money on the bouncing sound effects I have. Whenever I bounce around I have this weird sound effect. I asked, Great Sage, what it was, but even it was stumped. As expected of my meat bun form, it contains secrets even, Great Sage, doesn't know. I bounce up to Shizu and she picks me up while I was thinking about such things. She carried me in her arms and she continued talking. Honestly, I've been carried like this more than just a few times, but Mikoto never did. Is she still conscious about my gender? Shizu, are you from Japan? Rimuru, I guess you could say that. Not entirely though. I mean, I have both memories from Satoru Mikami and myself, and Daniel never went to Japan. Shizu, you only lived there for some parts of your life then? Rimuru, yeah. Something like that, I guess. Shizu takes off her mask at this point and I get a full view of her face. Anne. Ofu. The elves at Night Butterfly are beautiful, sure, but Shizu here. Wow. If I didn't have Mikoto I probably would have been smitten right here and now. She's a perfect 10 out of 10. Her flawless face and black eyes that seem to shine. Jesus Christ, I need to get laid. As an aside, Mikoto herself is a 9 out of 10, with the elves being an 8 out of 10. And for comparison, those supermodels from my world would be a June 7th 10. Anime girls are on a whole nother level, no wonder there are so many hentai doujins out there. Shizu and I kept talking with each other, sharing stories of how we came here. I couldn't exactly say I choked on a fucking meat bun and collapsed, so I gave her Mikami Satoru's story of getting stabbed. After that, I found myself here. Shizu decided to explain that she was a summon. In this world, summoned beings are expected to serve as living weapons to the country that summoned them. Summoned beings always contain a unique skill. Well, unless their bodies are too immature to generate one, in which case they're magicules. Moving on, in this world where wars are won over quality rather than quantity, those summoned beings are a trump card. Directly after their summoning, summoned beings are engraved with a curse to force them to obey their summoners. Mikoto is also a summoned being, but I never used any kind of curse or seal or anything of the sort that can act as some sort of control over her free will. Taking pity on Shizu, I decided to take a page out of OG Rimuru's book and use thought communication to share my, or rather Satoru's memories of Japan with her. I've never been to Japan, remember? Halfway through, Shizu's magicules begin to go wild and she drops me while clutching her chest. Report. Individual Shizue Izawa's magicules are going berserk. Greater Spirit Ifrit is likely attempting to take control. Confirmed, rampaging magicules are calming down. Rimuru. Are you okay? Probably a dumb fucking question, but it's the only thing I could say. Shizu, I'm okay, probably. She smiles at me and puts on her mask, but I can't bring myself to smile back. I think to myself for a bit before opening my mouth once again. Rimuru, scanned your body. You have a spirit inside you, right? Shizu freezes for a moment. Although I knew this information beforehand, I didn't lie. With universal perception and support from Ilya, Heaven's Feel, scanning her body like that is simple. Shizu. I do. Well, there's not much I can do about it. Despite how I look, I'm quite old. My control over the spirit is weakening, and this magic sealing mask is only holding it back for now. I open my mouth to speak again, but I hesitate. I don't say anything, I just look at her. Shizu, something wrong? I decide to speak. Rimuru, tomorrow, 2 days at the latest, that will be your limit. That spirit will break free and take over your body at that point. Shizu freezes for a moment, before sighing. Shizu, sigh. Is that so? Rimuru, you're not. I don't know, angry. Frustrated. Scared. Shizu, I long expected this to happen, I just didn't know it would be so soon. I don't doubt you. It's a shame though, my journey will have to stop here. Disappointment laces Shizu's voice. She turns to continue looking at the setting sun which is almost gone by now. Rimuru, I can help you through. I can completely seal away that spirit while letting you retain its power. I can give you a new body to reincarnate into. Shizu, however, surprisingly shakes her head. Shizu, it just means that it wasn't meant to be. I don't want to run away from this. Rimuru, but don't you want to live? Shizu, I do. But I don't, at the same time. My memories, they're unwanted. I have nothing but spite for this world, but for some reason, however, I don't hate it. Maybe because everything around me just reminds me of that man. I don't say anything. Shizu also stops talking. We both turn our attention to the horizon. And just as the sun completely sets. Rimuru, then, for these final couple of days, stay here. Enjoy your life. I turn around and start bouncing away, not wanting to hear her reply. This is my way of telling her I'm not taking Daga Kotowaru for an answer, regardless of how much she enjoys telling people who she thinks is strong, no. As I bounce along I notice Mikoto leaning against the tree off to the side. She looks at me with squinted eyes. Rimuru, is something wrong? She hesitates. Her cheeks redden and she shuffles around. I wait for her to speak, but then I notice that. Mikoto. Can I hold you? Ah. So that's what she wanted. Well, of course you can. Maybe she saw Shizu holding me and wanted to do that too. I mean, my form is quite nice to the touch. I go to reply, but instead of voicing my consent, I instead voice whatever was last on my mind. Rimuru, I can see under your skirt from this angle. Spark. Nijarundeo. But it's such a shame she only wears biker shorts. And so, Shizu stayed within the village. The three adventurers also wanted to stay behind for a couple of days, most likely to avoid work, and since I understand that feeling I generously let them stay as well. They went off to do their own thing, wandering around the village and doing whatever people of this world do for entertainment. Even to this day, I don't know what they do to keep themselves occupied. To adequately satisfy Shizu, I used limited creation on a rather large scale to make a house. Not just any house, however, but a modern house. Well, although I say modern, it's actually a traditional Japanese house, but with all the modern appliances inside like lights, showers, and all that. Since there's no electricity, I made a set of runes to absorb magicules from the atmosphere and use that to run everything inside instead. I could have just made an arc reactor, but actually, I can't think of a reason not to make an arc reactor, so I made one. And after I used some runes once more, I made it so that the electricity the arc reactor gives off and the magicules in the air can fuse, making for some seriously efficient energy. Mikoto's harmony helped in the process too, so even though it isn't really electricity, she can still work it like normal with her Electromaster Esper ability. After fortifying it with barriers and strengthening the foundation and structure with even more runes, it's finally done. Limited creation, and Rune Master, for the win. Man, I am so glad I chose these wishes. Anyway. This all happened in under an hour, with both Shizu and Mikoto watching it all happen right before their eyes. Mikoto knew I could do this, so she wasn't surprised and was simply highly interested in watching me jump around the place. Shizu, on the other hand, was completely floored. Shizu, am I dreaming? The day continued, both Mikoto and I accompanied Shizu in making sure her last couple of days are an absolute blast. I told Mikoto about Shizu's condition and she was shocked and bitter. She felt quite sorry for her. So, with that in mind, Mikoto decided to be proactive in entertaining her. Eventually, over the course of a few hours, they ended up becoming great friends, even disregarding their age gap. It must be because they both came from the same place, that being Japan, albeit a parallel universe Japan. I didn't really get in between them and only sat to the side and listened to them as they talked. The scene, it's healing my spirit. Two cute girls, sitting with each other, laughing and enjoying themselves, aw. Well, although I said, sat to the side, it more like, sat on Shizu's lap, because she always carried me around everywhere. When Mikoto asked why she always had me in her arms. Shizu, it's because Mr. Slime is so comfortable to hold. Is that she said as she snuggles my body even more. I mean, I'm really enjoying this physical contact, but can you stop staring at me like I'm some sort of trash, Mikoto? I'll let you hold me too if you want. Shizu became a bit confused when she came across certain things in the house, to which Mikoto realized she never really had contact with modern technology or modern things in general. And so, I constantly made more games, food, and things like that from modern times to mess around with. Shizu got really into it herself but almost fell into gacha hell. It took a lot of convincing to get her to stop. Mikoto never touched something like gacha as well, so she got curious and also wanted to try it, to which I also had to convince her to stop. After that, I uninstalled every gacha game on all of the consoles and devices. Rimuru, no one is going to corrupt my Mikoto. I mutter such words to myself as I finish off my holy crusade of ridding this place of all roads to hell and purifying the place afterwards by leaving meat buns all over the place. After that, Shizu constantly teased Mikoto about something, but I never got what they were talking about. Finally, it's evening. Mikoto, so, out of all the food you tried today, which was your favorite? Shizu placed a finger on her lip while she thought about the question. Shizu, I would have to say I like the meat buns the most. They were the most delicious ones I've ever had. Shizu answers with a smile. Damn, she really is waifu material, should I pursue her instead? Mikoto, really? It's the same with me. Nope, never mind, Mikoto is bae. They continued talking about such idle thoughts as they sat on the couch, Shizu hugging me and Mikoto hugging a pillow. And finally, they grow tired and decide to go to bed. Obviously, they sleep in the house. Comfortable beds, remember? Mikoto goes off on her own and I guide Shizu to her bed. You know, in case she still doesn't understand something. I have no bad intentions, I swear. Shizu, Mr. Slime. No, Rimuru. Can I ask you for a favor? Shizu, already laying down in bed, turns her head to me and asks me a question. Rimuru, of course. Shizu smiles at me, immediate answer. She opens her mouth. Shizu, can you eat me please? This came as a shock to me. Rimuru. Can I ask why? Shizu, I don't think I can hold back effort any longer. Soon. I won't be able to hold back. I'm scared, you know, of losing my sense of self. So, please. Shizu looks calm on the outside, but her voice quivers as she talks. She's frightened. Not of dying itself, but rather. Shizu, it's okay for me to be a little selfish, right? Eat me. Let me die as myself. She's frightened of dying as a monster. I pause, and I think about this. I was expecting this, honestly. But I was thinking she could hold out until tomorrow. I didn't know it would be so soon. Report, Greater Spirit Ifrit will break free from its restraints in under 2 hours. It turns out she can't hold on that long. Rimuru, I accept. However, I must ask you something else in turn. Shizu, if it's something I can do as weakened as I am now. Rimuru. Let me carry your regrets. Shizu's eyes widen, before she closes them, and nods. She smiles as a single tear leaks from her eye, and I speak one last time before she will never hear me again. Rimuru, don't worry about the kids. And I'll at least make sure to punch that Leon guy once. Shizu chuckles, before breathing a sigh, and I work my magic. Predator. And like that, Shizue Izawa disappears from the world, for now. Name, Rimuru. Race, Origin Slime. Protection, Crest of Space. Title, Highest Tier Spirit. Ultimate Skills, Ilia, Heaven's Feel. Intrinsic Skills, Infinite Regeneration, Universal Shapeshift, Universal Sense. Unique Skills, Great Sage, Predator, Limited Creation, Rune Master. Extra Skills, Control Water, Lord's Ambition, Thought Communication, Shadow Motion, Cloud Step, Language Comprehension, Control Wind, Far Sight, Snipe, Silent Movement, Evasion, Reinforcement, Greater Prediction, Hinder Senses, plus 14 more. Common Skills, there's a fuck ton, I'm not writing this. Tolerances, Resist Temperature, Resist Melee Attack, Cancel Pain, Resist Electricity, Resist Paralysis, Resist Earth, Resist Water, Resist Wind, Resist Spiritual Attack, Resist Holy Attack, Resist Ranged Attack, plus 7 more. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.